Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fair Life with Andrew McKee. I am Andrew McKee, and it's had a couple of issues connecting, but I think we're good. I'm testing a few more things out this year for the first stream of the year for me. If you remember the last one last year, it had some issues with my connection to my camera, so I had to use my tertiary camera, not my backup, but the really bad one, and the video quality was not so good. So this, I got a new interface for it for my DSLR camera, and I think we're looking pretty good. But hey, Jan and Kat and Lisa and Kathy and Kevin and Dan, hey, yeah, thanks for joining. And yeah, I think this is going to be a little more of a test show as well, just to make sure everything. Yes, Chris, I am live. I know. I'm surprised sometimes myself, but this will be an abbreviated show, but I just wanted to make sure everything was working. And you may have noticed I set up events for the rest of the year. I know, maybe I'm a little optimistic, but all the way to the end of December, I have events on Facebook set up. So should be, I'll try to keep it going for as long as I can. I'll probably have to cancel one or two during the year just because of travel or something like that. But I'm trying to make sure that I have backups of backups so that even if I have a technical glitch, I am covered. Even have a backup laptop now ready to go. So here's hoping we can get all this going and set up and everything's good. Oh, and Janine, hey, thanks. And Harvey. Yeah, it has been an interesting beginning of the year. I've already done 2 weekends at the Faire of Champions, and Faire of Champions in East Texas, Palestine, Texas. And it is, first weekend was surprisingly warm. I know, beginning of January, very warm. That's Texas for you. This last weekend was a bit colder, but Faire of Champions is a small fair, just kind of getting going, but they didn't have a huge crowd this last weekend because they had a burn ban going on. And it was chilly, but part of the charm of Faire of Champions is they have a great camping setup, and people love doing that. And then they come in and there are all these fire pits, throughout the paths, all through the fair. So it actually can warm up easily whenever you want to. And people really love that. And with the burn ban, camping isn't as fun. The going through Faire, it doesn't quite have that same magic. So I totally get it, but it looks like they're canceling it now. So it should be good for next weekend. So here's hoping. But still not a bad weekend. And it'll be a little chilly again this coming up weekend, but not that bad. So I don't know. I expect one of the weekends at Faire of Champions to be, oh my God, it's cold. And so far we haven't hit that. So we'll see. Maybe this will be the year we don't get one. I really feel like I should knock on wood or something. They call me paranoid. Wow. Yes. You could have, it was a lack of fire. That's kind of it. And oh no, I'm sorry to hear that, Jan. Wish him well for me. I hope he feels better. But yeah, we'll get there, and I'm looking forward. The first weekend of Faire Champions had a really good crowd, much higher percentage than last year. So it's still too early to tell, but I think it's definitely a growth year, and we'll see. I'll keep reporting and let you know how it's going. But it is an interesting fair. It is. I've really come to enjoy it. So thanks, Lisa. I appreciate that. Uh-huh. You're not wrong. Oh my. That can be a factor for sure. But no, they really do a good job with setting up fire out there and making it very safe. They take that very seriously. It's hard to walk very far and not see a fire extinguisher. They have a ridiculous number out there. They're very cautious, and I give them a lot of credit for that. They had a few, I think it's one of those fairs where they had a few key concepts that they wanted to employ, and camping and good fires and fire pits and all of that was a couple of the main ones, and they did a great job with that. And they didn't just do it on a whim. They really took their time and did it right. So I really appreciate that, and I think the people that go really do too. So we'll see. But no, it's a charming little fair, and they've really upgraded the food this year. Last year they had weekends where it was inconsistent. Some weekends they had certain food, other weekends they had different food, and overall it was okay and workable, but it wasn't always great. But this year, all the food vendors are very good, and they're there for the whole run. So I appreciate a fair a lot more when they learn from their mistakes and do tweaks each year, and they did that. So I give them a lot of credit on that. Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes. That is that it, it gets harder depending on location, and that's the thing about fairs. It's all about location. I'm sure for you it's the same thing on those dig sites, where it is yeah. I mean, some are a lot easier to work in than others. I'm sure for weather or terrain or just getting there. I can't even imagine. So yeah, and every fair has its own pluses and minuses. There's no such thing as a fair where everything's great. There's always a few negatives, but you always try to make the positives so good that the negatives are livable or not even that important in the overall. That's I think how fairs try to approach it, and some do a really good job. So I'll give them credit on that. Yeah. Well, so I guess I should go ahead and ask, how is the video? Is the video, I mean, compared to the one at the end of the year last year, let's not even talk about that one. Let's just see if this one is okay. I think it looks good on my end, but I can't see exactly what you see, and it's always a little different. But hopefully the video and the audio is at least okay. Um, okay, quality looks good. Excellent. Excellent. That's the important thing. I wasn't, this is my new interface, and it is definitely a big step up from the old interface I had for my DSLR camera. Now I can encode 60 frames per second 4K video in real time. I know. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So I'm not that I'm doing 4K streaming, because I mean it's not necessary for this. I pretty much limit it to just full HD at 1080p, but it's nice to know I have the option, and that's kind of cool. I can also instead of worrying about the frames, I just go ahead and set 1080p at 60 frames per second, and then I scale it down to 30 when I stream, but it's still a slightly better quality just from that. For those that understand what I just said, you get it. If for those of you that don't, just know it's a big step up. So it might serve me better later. And I still have my old one. It turns out it just needed a new cable. So that's turned into my backup, and I have a extra cable for that. So hopefully shouldn't be a problem in the future. But that is good. That is good. Okay, video is good, but not syncing. That actually could be, you might just need to refresh it, Jan. Sometimes that has a problem with audio and video on the live stream. And if you just refresh it, it just corrects itself. So give that a try. That happens regularly, unfortunately, especially on Facebook. I've noticed. Yeah, that's what I figured. It's Facebook. YouTube seems to do a much better job with that. But yeah, Facebook, generally just refresh it and it'll probably work fine. So give that a go. Okay. But yeah, that's been my experience at Fair of Champions, and I have 3 more weekends left. Boy, it's crazy, because when I first started performing at fairs, there really weren't any fairs in January. Just nobody did them. January was like the month off. They started having one at the end of January. In the middle 2000s, they started doing that. But yeah, January was generally not a fair month. Then February, the fairs would start in Florida, and that's kind of how it went. But more and more fairs have been growing and starting over the last a couple of decades, and because of that, they needed some place to go. And especially in states like Florida, where they have a lot of fairs in the late winter, early spring. It's a nice place to go ahead and start doing some stuff in January. That was the only spot left if you want to stand out. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, good to hear that, Jim. Excellent. Mm. Excellent. Oh, okay. I'm glad to hear the webcam worked well. Yeah. Yeah, that's the yeah, I tried to stay away from too many numbers because that can be overwhelming for people. But generally, people get 4K and full HD just because live streaming TV now kind of warrants that. In televisions, you get a 4K TV or a HD TV, and you kind of know the difference. So tried to just throw in the basic numbers that so not too bad. But yeah, right now, if I work at it, I could theoretically do fairs every weekend except maybe 3. Yeah, except maybe 3. Maybe even 2. But yeah, I could theoretically do that. That's kind of the world we are in now. And thinking about it 20 years ago, that just boggles my mind from back then. It's very new dynamic. So fairs all year round. Of course, I'll show you the map later when we do the fair list. There aren't many fairs. I think only 6 for this weekend. But they're all far, far south. And that's kind of how it is in January. So yeah, it is pretty crazy. Yeah, I know, Kat. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm going to. Don't get me wrong. There's probably going to be a weekend here or a weekend there. I'm not going to do something, but I don't know. I'm tempted to really push it and see how many I could do in a year. I might not like it myself after that year, but just to try it out. Sometimes I like to push myself just to see where my limit is, and then I know where to back off to for the future. Well, yeah, I know. You're probably right. Yeah, I know, Jenny. And sometimes I can be very goal-oriented. If I have a good goal, I'll really jump on it. But I really enjoy fairs. So while it seems like it's horrible, and oh my gosh, he's working too hard, he's going to burn out, I don't really see that happening. And I try to relax a bit during the week. I don't. What I should be doing is doing more gigs during the week in between fairs, and I haven't been doing enough of that. That's something I really want to work on. So really, I think you might be right. What I should be doing is not doing as many weekends, but trying to do more during the week, and I think that will work. Sometimes it feels that way, but no, I actually love driving. That's never been a problem. When I was back with the Brobdingnagian Bards, I did probably 98% of the driving we did over a 10-year span. I did, and I didn't mind. I kind of preferred it. It was fun. Of course, if you ever saw Mark Gunn drive back then, you might know why. Part of the reason why I preferred it. He's gotten better. I think having kids forced him to become a better driver. But it was. I always liked it. I always liked driving. It was fun, and I find it very relaxing. I know. I'm weird, but I do. Yeah, that's exactly it. Workwear when you can. That's the good thing about being self-employed and a musician. You can work your butt off for a while and then take a month off if you want. You don't have to kill yourself, but you can. You have a lot of flexibility and freedom. It just depends on how much you want to book. It's really an interesting life, but you have to be willing to take the reins and always guide yourself. You can't just go with the flow, not completely. So it's an interesting life, but you have to be willing to do that. But anyway, yeah, fairs are interesting in January. I think if any of you are down far south, or think you can get down there, they're worth checking out. And believe it or not, no Viking festivals this weekend. I know, right? I would have thought, right? So, but yeah. No, it's the weather is going to be chilly this weekend, but not too bad. So I think it's going to be a good weekend for Faire. So we shall see. It's already 7:17. I'm going to jump right into the Faire list because, why not? Why not? And you can see most of them are far, far south, with one small exception in northern Georgia. That's still pretty south, but it's kind of more of a different kind of event. But let's go ahead and do this. Let's see. And yeah, there we go. I got that. Yay! I love the pointer. Still working great. Always wonderful. Always fun. So yes, we're going to start off with the Space Coast Renaissance Fair in Melbourne, Florida. I mean, this is a first-year fair. This is its first year. But it's second weekend, second of two. And it should be interesting. It is. I'm seeing some good information about it online, and it seems like it's been a pretty fun event. So I'll keep an eye on it and see where it goes. But again, a new fair starting out in the middle of January, kind of like what I said. They're starting to move into this territory. Another one is Venezia. The Venezia Renaissance Festival, and it also is the second of two weekends in Bonita Springs, Florida. It started, really, was it 2020? That long ago? I didn't think it was that old. I thought it was just 3 years or so, but okay, I'll buy that, 2020. And also going in the last few years, starting in the middle of January. Kind of interesting. Jumping up to Georgia, we have the Castle Fair at Uaberg Castle. Now, they do events kind of throughout the year at different times, and this is just one 3-day weekend, Friday to Sunday, in Helen, Georgia. And it's at a site of a castle that was built that they have events, weddings and all of that throughout the year, but they have these special events to bring people in and do that. So if you're in the area, probably very interesting. The castle is very lovely, so feel free to look that up, Uaberg Castle. Jumping over to Louisiana, we have the Acadiana Renaissance Fair. This is in Ville Platte, Louisiana, and this is the second out of 5 weekends. Again, kind of filling up most of January and early February. And their theme is pirates. So, yeah, I know, not a big leap for a theme for Southern Louisiana, but hey, yeah, I'll give them a pass. Then we go over to Fair of Champions. I might be a little biased, but a wonderful fair. They started in 2020. They did a weird thing with the first few years where they had 3 years of soft openings. And they own the land and they could kind of get away with that. It's an interesting strategy, but last year I wasn't so sure, but this year I'm starting to realize I think they were smart to do it that way, and they're starting to see bear fruit from that labor, and we'll see how it goes. Their theme this weekend is High Seas Adventure, and it's third weekend out of 5 in Palestine, Texas. Then finally, we have the Kerrville Renaissance Festival, and that's been going on since 2017. Like I said, a lot of these have come up in the last 10 years or so. And it's in Kerrville, Texas, of course. And it is the first out of 3 weekends. So, should be a lot of fun. Yay! Woohoo! Okay. So there we go. Those are the, wrong one. That was the weather forecast. No, that was the fair list. So there you go. It should be a little interesting. Vikings are practicing still. That's good. Yeah. Considering how warm it has been the last few weekends, I don't blame them. If you're in a Viking festival, you really want to have some cold weather because a lot of the garb is very warm. But that's one of the interesting things about these January and February fairs. You get to try garb that most of the rest of the year, it's just too hot. to enjoy. This is Northern European type garb that, 1,000 years ago, oh yeah, it was great. Now, oh, you're burning up. So it's cold enough you can get away with it, and it's nice to have some cold weather garb that you can actually wear a few weekends out of the year. So it opens up some nice doors. Yeah, right. You're not kidding. It's way too cold in the north. Although there are some fairs that what they'll do is they'll do some indoor event fairs. That's started to become a trend, I've noticed, in some of the northern states in the winter. They'll set it up like a convention, but it's inside a big warehouse or a convention center or a hotel or something like that. And they'll have a lot of the events and things they would have at a fair, maybe not jousting, but a lot of other things. And it's a Ren fair, but it's very different, more like a convention than a Ren fair, but still a Ren fair. So but in weather like that, I'm gonna give them a pass. I spent a good 10 seconds thinking about it. Should we count that as a Ren fair? Yeah, I mean, in weather like that, I'm gonna say okay. Now, that's a good question, Dan, and no, they really don't. They do have events, but usually they're very based on history or a particular festival. It's based around that, or a celebration of an invasion that happened in 1283 or something. I mean, it's usually something like that that's meant to commemorate. It's more like what we would consider a parade, where you have a historical event that happened, and you have all of these events that happen throughout the day, and vendors selling food and people dressed up and doing that. It's kind of more like I guess the closest thing for us would probably be like a July the 4th parade. And it's more detailed than that, but it is, and some of them can last days, sometimes weeks, but it's not at all like the U.S. fairs. And now I've heard people have told me about the fairs in Europe where if somebody tried to do a U.S. style fair out there, the locals would eat it up. They would love it. And I kind of believe that. I think it's an interesting route that, honestly, I would not be surprised if we start seeing at least a few of those sprout up in some of the European countries over the next decade or so. Because it's just, the U.S. fairs are too popular and they're doing too well. And somebody's going to want to try it. And yes, I did, Jan. There's a performer out at the Sherwood Fair and other fairs that passed away recently. So yeah, that was very, very sad to hear about that. That is true, Janine. Indoor fairs would be less atmospheric, but yeah, more accessible for people who have mobility issues. You're not wrong. And usually because of the laws, if nothing else, those places are set up for it. And that's great. It does open up some good possibilities for that. So yeah. Yeah, I've heard that too from a lot of people. So that does not surprise me, Kat. Yeah, I firmly believe that somebody's going to do a U.S. style fair, even if it's somebody from the U.S. who travels there. In fact, they probably should approach it that way, where they present themselves in a kind of a Barnum and Bailey style as a traveling fair, just saying, hey, I'm from America. We're going to do an American fair here. And I think they would eat it up. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I really see that happening. But yeah, maybe not this year, but 5 years, maybe I could see it. I could see it happening. But hey, never, those European tourists, never discount them. They do, you do see them sometimes at Ren fairs, and it is interesting and fun, especially when they speak the language. You have a performer who's acting as a French performer, and the person's from France, and they speak fluent French. So, but every once in a while, you'll get some of the French performers who speak fluent French at fair too. It's good when that happens. Not always necessary, but it's so helpful when it does. Very, very good. Very good. But yeah, well, I guess it's already 7:27. I'm probably going to call it here. simply because I think it's, this is more of a test episode anyway. I just wanted to make sure the video and the audio worked. I already see that there is a few, I already see that the network wasn't perfect. And I think I need to do a better job of plugging in directly. So a good learning experience, and next week it should be a lot better. And the event's already live, so feel free to go ahead and check that out, and always appreciated. And I'm looking forward to another wonderful weekend at Faire of Champions. So take care, relax, enjoy some of this cold weather if you can. And yes, I will do a 7 reasons next time, I promise. And it is, enjoy the cold weather and just enjoy the week, because, when it's really hot, sometimes you miss the cold, and when it's really cold, sometimes you miss the heat. But without both, what's there to miss? So enjoy it, relax, drink some hot cocoa for me, and have a fair life. Take care.